Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. So there's something I want to say, and then there's something I have to say. I got an email, and this is going to be the last time I talk about the Sinister Six. Apparently, some people were upset that I was using, calling some people nerds or weird or, maybe even implicating them in a crime by discussing the Sinister Six on the show. I think Doc Ock called me less than useless. I think Norman Osborn said that I'm just because you speak like you have the rhetoric of a supervillain doesn't actually make you a supervillain. So I think I probably hurt some feelings. And so I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But legally, I have to read this email I got. And this is the last thing I'm going to mention about the Sinister Six. So I got this email. Dear sir, please consider this your last warning before this matter is referred to our legal department. Marvel Entertainment would like to reiterate yet again that the Sinister Six, TM, is a fictional, all caps, organization contained within Marvel's intellectual property and cannot be joined by actual human beings. There is no one employed here at Marvel Entertainment with names like Norman Osborn or Otto Octavius. These are fictional characters, all caps again. We now consider this matter to be closed and recommend that you seek a mental health professional. Please stop sending us weird emails. Signed, Dan Buckley, President, Marvel Entertainment. Yeah. It was all in my head. I made it all up. That's why we're in this fancy new studio. There's all sorts of weird legal things when it comes to the Sinister Six. Anyway, so I'm legally obligated to completely drop the subject. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. We're here in our new fancy studio. We have this temporary setup right now because we don't have the green screen, so we're not going to have much chroma key going on. We could still pull up like pictures and so forth. And bandwidth issues, I'm not going to be able to monitor chat, so sorry about that. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would very much appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. I would appreciate that as well. Let's see. A friend of mine texted me last night. He's like, "Hey man, you should talk about Ozzy Osbourne." No, yeah, what he said. He like autocorrect said Izzy. So you should talk about Izzy tomorrow on your show. And I was like, wasn't he the guy from Guns N' Roses? And he's like, no, Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, what about him? Because I'm messing with him, and I eventually just came around and said he was overrated. Why are we even talking about this? When Norm Macdonald died, nobody texted me and said, "You going to talk about that on your show tomorrow?" I was heartbroken for like 2 weeks, and nobody texted me saying, "You going to talk about that on your show tomorrow?" Ozzy Osbourne's overrated. And that's what pissed me off about when Norm Macdonald died, because I felt something for a celebrity death, and I don't like that. And he's like, "You got to talk about Ozzy," and it's like, look, hasn't like Malcolm Jamal Warner have more of an impact on your life? Exactly. Theo died, and people are like, "Oh, Ozzy Osbourne." We knew this was coming for like a decade, right? Theo Huxtable, he helped like give me an idea of what I might face as being an older teenager growing up. He dies, and people are like, "Oh, what a surprise!" And indeed, it is a surprise. But with Ozzy, you're just like, you seen this coming. This last tour was a farewell tour. He went out like a champ. Good for him. But and I said, no, I'm not going to talk about him, and here I am talking about him. Anyway, I also have a news story about it. We'll get to that later. We're going to might be a little fast and loose, just shooting the breeze with you guys today. I got some movies to review and stuff like that, but I was real drunk last night, and Sean Goggins slipped into my DMs. Did I tell you this, EK? No. Yeah, Sean Goggins. He's the engineer of Gavin McInnes' show. I've been kind of messing with him on Twitter. So he slipped into my DMs. He's like, "What's up?" And I was like hammered. I was like about to go to bed. And so I just started tacking away, talking to him. It was telling him all about my show and so forth. But he's obviously a very busy man, working for Compound Censored, so. But I found it weird that he wanted to talk to me at all. And I feel ashamed. It's like, I was drunk, messing with him a little too much. I don't know. Maybe he liked it. I don't know. Seems like a good chap. They call him the Dud. Anyway, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, I got a spike in views over this past week. My 30th high school reunion was this past week. I didn't go. I probably should have. But this antisocial impulse of mine, this is like the most social I want to be is right now. And so I was like, I don't necessarily want to go to that. I mean, never thought they really liked me in high school. Why would I think they'd like me now? And I was like, actually, there's actually more of an argument of why they would like me now. But I did see some pictures, but I got the spike in views over this past week because apparently somebody was talking about me at the reunion. And it wasn't until I saw some pictures today I figured out who it was. It's a couple of my friends went, and I didn't know that until I saw, because there's a bunch of pictures that came out. And I saw them, and holy cow, I mean, some of the girls, 48-year-old women, girls my age that I went to high school with, and they still look fantastic, there's Natalie. I was thinking about Natalie, and I see these faces and like some memories get jarred loose and so forth. And I saw Natalie and was like, gee, she looks exactly the same. And just, a little grayer. That's and she looks great. I used to have a crush on her in like my junior year because I think it's sophomore year I was in PE with her. And number one, she was always very kind to me and my nerdy friends. And she's always a sweetheart. And I remember this one time we were playing volleyball in gym, and I like playing volleyball. I think it's a very fun game that anyone can play. And most of the girls would hang out in the back of the volleyball court and just sit there and talk to each other. Like, I can't believe they make us wear these stupid shorts. We all got to match. It's dumb, And they just stand there with their arms folded, not participating in PE, and just talking and chatting about guys and flipping their hair. But me and Natalie, we're out there on the court. We're playing volleyball. And I don't know, it just said something about her character. And I like that about her. Because, I mean, the junior year I was crushing on her. It was mostly about everyone. I was sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, Scott and Casey sitting in a tree, Kissing," because everyone knew I was interested in Casey, and so I switched it up because there's plenty of beautiful women in the world. Some people were like, Natalie's not that hot, and I was like, there's more to hot than just being good looking, and just the fact that she wanted to participate in the game, it meant, I don't know, it shows that she wants to participate in life, and she's got a good character, good work ethic. More to attraction than that. And I kind of wish I went because I want to ask her, when you were running for student council president back in 1994, did anyone explain to you that you're going to have to help organize every single class reunion for the rest of your life? Because if somebody told me that, I would have rethought running for class president. She was class president, valedictorian, and she looks great. She looks happy. I imagine she's married, but if not, it looks good. There was another one, Tracy. Tracy, I know she's read a couple of my books. She's mentioned it a couple times. And I remember Tracy because we had English together. I think it was junior year, and she was playing field hockey. And they had a game that day. And we were talking about a book we were reading. I don't remember the book. And the reason I don't remember the book or what she said in class is because of the way this memory ends. And so, you'll see. And so we were reading this book in this class, and then Tracy came up and was talking about her perspective on the book. And I was like, oh, I get it. She had a really good point about the story and the plot that we were reading. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a very interesting thought. And I was like, oh, she's always been nerdy and cute. I bet I could have a shot at her. And then she stood up when the bell rang, and she starts walking out of the room wearing the field hockey outfit. And I see those legs, and I'm just like, what was she saying? It's real tough being a 16, 17-year-old guy. You see a chick with long legs, you forget everything she said. And I've never been good with women that I'm attracted to. But Tracy now, she's a smoke show. She is incredibly hot. I think she's married, and good for her. I mean, a lot of them seem very happy in relationships. If not, Tracy, call me. I'm begging for love over here. And there's one more. It's like Shannon. I think it was my sophomore year in high school. I saw she was crying in algebra class, and I was concerned about her. And so I said, "Are you okay?" And she was cute back then, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I think because of that kindness, she looked me up like a few years ago. on the internet, and she started like calling me and stuff, and I'm like, kudos, looking me up, that's hot. All right. And so we were talking on the phone a bit. She sent me some pictures, and I was like, oh my, you got a lot of tattoos now. That's kind of I don't know, I'm not really into that, but she's way better looking than she was in high school. She really came into her own, and really good looking. We had kind of like a date, and I've always been bad at the guy girl thing. What's that called? Dating. I've always been bad at that, and so and I was like, you're real into the tattoos. Yeah, and I'm really kind of a square, conservative kind of guy at my core. I know I talk a big game, but I'm pretty square, conservative. I thought she would have got bored with me, but that probably should have been her call, not mine. So I fumbled the ball on that. I probably could have had a shot at her, but I screw stuff up like that all the time. And those are good memories to have. But I'll tell you what, it's like after the reunion, there's this thread where they're talking about people who died from my class, and there's a lot of some I did know, some I didn't know, and that blew my mind. That some of the people I outlived. I smoke 2 packs a day. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem fair. It really doesn't. Anyway, good memories, I suppose. Moving right along. I gotta get used to the new studio. But today I was able to like dress the set a little, you see. Look at this. I love this guy. Little face hugger Pokemon. Anyway, fun stuff. We'll have the green screen next week. Got my niece staying with me this week, so I kind of got to censor myself. So I've been trying, because if you're like hammering a nail or something like that and you hit your thumb, the instinct as an adult male is to say something profane, like the F word, drop the F word. And so like I don't know, like 2 or 3 Halloweens ago, I let an F-bomb slip in front of my niece, and my sister like looked at me like we were already 20 years in the future, and my niece was being arrested for drunken disorderly conduct, and she's staring at me, and she's like, "This happened because 20 years ago, you said the F-bomb on Halloween in front of her." So I kind of got to train myself not to immediately jump into like the most profane things. So I got to kind of find some PG swear words. And yeah, I've been thinking about this a while. And farts is always good. It's like, oh, you get these, pow, farts. You get the F in it, so it's easy to lead into it. So if you like linger on the F and you go, farts, it can help you, especially so you can't say earmuffs. So you can swear. All right, farts is a good one. I like shucks because it has the uck sound, and that's a little satisfying. Shucks. That's a good one. What's the other one? I mentioned a couple weeks ago about like Canadian swear words, but say them in English, like tabernacle, the chalice, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" And you go to Montreal, and then people will be like, "Why are you saying it that way?" we say tabernacle. Chalice or something like that. Anyway, French Canadians. And if you want to get a real deep cut, you go by the Vishanti, and people are like, "What?" And it's only like people who read Doctor Strange comic books would know what you're talking about. Is he mad or is he having a stroke? By the Vishanti. Are you okay? Sit down. Anyway, all right. Next subject. I don't sit on couches. I don't know why I included that. Oh, I remember. I got a vacation coming up September, the 20th through the 26th, I think. Going to the beach with my fam, and so don't expect a show that week or anything that week. I may post some stuff. Anyway. And usually when they go on vacation, I stay home and I watch my sister's dog. And my sister's dog will always come in my office, and she is always like, "What are you doing? Let's go sit on the couch and cuddle." That's what we always do at home. And I was like, I don't sit on couches. I need to have a keyboard in front of me. I may be sitting here playing a game on my phone and watching a movie on the screen, but I need to be able to, if I drop everything and I got an idea and I got to type something, I need that right in front of me, easy access. And even when I don't have that, I have like a little notebook I carry around with me, but it's easier just to have a keyboard. So I was thinking about how, like, if you're dating is that dating? The guy girl thing is called dating? I I've forgotten. And so dating. And so what was my point? I'm bad at that. Yeah, so if like I ever like dated somebody, there's a lot of sitting on couches watching TV together when it comes to being like a couple when you're dating. From what I understand. And so I kind of need somebody who's okay with sitting there right next to me in front of my computer in my office, and we're both watching the same thing, and then I get an idea. Okay, I'm going to alt tab out of this. I'll leave the audio running, but I got it. Because that's how I write. I can't not be near a keyboard. It's fun for me. Writing is fun for me. And a lot of people are like, it's like, how is that fun? And it's like, because you're creating stuff. You know, I've talked a couple times about this G.I. Joe campaign. We're playing with Heroes Unlimited and having fun with playing G.I. Joe with my friends, you know, in a role-playing game. And it's fun to create these scenarios and stuff like that. How do you not see that that's fun? Writing fiction is fun. Writing little goofy jokes like this is fun for me. It's how I like to have fun. You know, sitting in dark rooms, tick-tack, tick-tack, tick-tack away, you know, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo and being weird, being myself. It's the playground of my mind. And if you don't have one of those in your head, what are you doing with your brain? Anyway. I was thinking about how I call myself the madman and how in the 90s I was pretty crazy. I was pretty crazy for the 90s and the early aughts, but I started looking around these days and the level of crazy has just gone like right through the roof. I mean, it's there's people now who don't believe the earth is round. There's people out there right now trying to make valid arguments about why the earth is flat and what's beyond the edge of it. Okay. There's people who think, like, there's guys who think they're girls, you know, or think that they can actually become real women. That's a level of crazy I can't really fathom, you know. I was just, in the 90s and early aughts, I'd just be ranting about stupid stuff, about like why the horses are evil and stuff. You get a couple of Dr. Peppers in me, I get a little caffeinated, a couple of cigarettes, a little bit more nicotine. I'll rant about horses for an hour, and that's pretty crazy. And people would say, look at this guy raving like a madman. And that's where it comes from. Some guy said that about me. It's like, why is this guy always raving like a madman? But now the level of crazy is on a whole different level. Like they may elect a socialist supporter of Islamic terrorism as the mayor of New York City. You know how crazy that is? That's insane. There are people out there right now who are fighting for the rights of people who illegally snuck into this country. We got to give them free stuff. Why? Because we're America. We give out free stuff. And it's like, really? It's new to me because I'm over here broke. I can't even go to my high school reunion. Money, what is that? So, I mean, it's just the level of crazy is just astounding these days. There is a guy who is trying to dismiss the entire Jeffrey Epstein thing. It's like, why are you even talking about that guy? Why are we still talking about him? He's been dead a long time. It's like, you know, it's just, you know, a bunch of victims, you know, supposedly horrible sex crimes. You know, we're concerned about that. You know, the biggest story of the decade, you know. He's like, why are you still talking about them? You know how crazy it is? That is? And that's the president of the United States. You know what I mean? So the level of crazy is just so beyond. So I think, do I need to change my name? I had a different idea. What was it, like Angry Pirate or something like that? It'll come to me. If you have any ideas for something else to call me because I'm not crazy. You know, I actually come off as sane these days. What should I change my name to? All right, let's do a couple movie reviews. I had a great week of movies that I watched, some really good ones. And The Devil's Double, wow, really good movie. Mostly because it's terrifying. The premise of this, based on a true story, is about Uday Hussein. Now, I don't know if you know much about the Husseins, and who's the other one? Qusay Hussein? But Uday was like Saddam Hussein's oldest son. And like Saddam and many other world leaders, especially in that part of the world, they get body doubles. Now, in America, if you need to get a body double, you offer to pay them, give them an offer they can't refuse, in terms of financial, compensation. If you're in Iraq in the 90s, it's like, hey, you look like me. We're going to beat you until you agree to become my body double. And so that's what happens to this poor guy. And his only problem is the only reason is that he just happens to look like Uday Hussein. And so they beat him until he's like, I don't want to be your body double. And so they beat him until he's like, okay, I'll be your body double. And then after that, it's all Rolexes and Armani suits and hot chicks everywhere. Just don't touch the ones Uday wants, which is all of them. You can get whiskey and cocaine and Ferraris. You know what I'm saying? Just, he could avoid getting beat up, I suppose. But I mean, they also did like surgeries on him, like to make his face look more like Uday. And so, he was a little tall, so forth. They even joked, it's like, oh, your dick's too big, so we're going to have to make some changes because my dick's well known in Baghdad. And so it's about this guy who just like has this terrible, terrible life of being a body double for one of the biggest douches to ever walk the earth. Which is anyone named Hussein in around Baghdad in the 90s. And so early 90s. And so it's a very terrifying movie, and you can't trust anyone. And that's kind of the point of it, is that I kind of watch this movie and I think to myself, is like, number one, how the brass balls of these Muslims who think that, claim a moral high ground, and they're all drinking whiskey and snorting cocaine, especially these rich assholes. And rich assholes are the same every country. Too much whiskey, too much cocaine, too many hot chicks hanging around. Power and money, it's its own double-edged sword, I suppose. But even then, you're like, even if you're rich in a place like Baghdad, you got to be like, this is a shitty fucking country. I got to get out of here. Because it really is. And the way that, they talk about the Shias and they talk about Kuwaitis is like, depending upon the Islamic, like, your basis, if you're Sunni, Shia, or whatever like that, they just absolutely hate anyone else other than them, to the point where like we are ordered to kill you by the Quran. Anyway, but very good movie, terrifying. It's 12 or 13 stars. It's thank you for being in English, because I really would have hated this movie if I had to read it. 12 of 13 stars. Really good movie. Let's talk about another really good movie called 24 Hours to Live, 2017 movie, 24 Hours to Live, starring Ethan Hawke. One of the stars of one of my favorite movies, Training Day. And he's a decent actor. And this movie's pretty wild. He's a contractor, like ex-military, operative kind of guy. But now he's working for a private contracting firm and doing like wet work and, dirty business of, I forget the name, it was like Red Rock or something like that he was working for. And he's making serious money. He's got his wife and kid back home. And they're always like, we don't need the money. We want you home. You're on deployment all the time when you're in the military. And now that you have this job, you're still on deployment all the time. We want you at home. But he's out there doing this dangerous work, and he ends up getting himself killed. And to be honest, it was the end of the first act when he got himself killed. And I was just like, oh, really? This is interesting. Is it 24 hours already? It's only like 20 minutes in the movie, and Ethan Hawke just got shot like twice in the chest, like in the 10 ring. An Interpol agent shot this highly trained operative in the 10 ring. He died like a bitch. I remember that's what I said. It's like, ooh, you went out like a bitch, dude. a female Interpol agent, like he's like coming at her across the car. She ducks down, rolls under the car, comes out the other side, and he's She takes 2 right in the heart in the 10 ring and dies. Then he wakes up, and there's a doctor. He's freaking out, and they're giving him injections, and so they're trying to get this information he had out of his head. They ask him questions and so forth, and they get what they needed out of him. And then his friend's there, and he's like, yeah, the company's been working on this procedure where they can, basically bring somebody back to life, but it's only like for 24 hours. And so it's a one-way trip. We just needed the information from you, but you're never leaving this room because you're going to spend the rest. I can have the doctor come in and give you some medication and make it easy, but we just needed that information. That's why we brought you back to life. And so he had this little clock in his wrist that shows how much time he has left until he dies. And so he fights his way out. It starts like trying to get down, like solve the mystery. I still got 24 hours to live. I'm going to try to solve this mystery. And so he's running around, and he finds the Interpol agent. Now he wants to help her. And she's like, didn't I shoot you? But at the same time, he's like, he got one foot in the grave. So he's like sickly, and he's hallucinating, seeing his son and his wife and stuff like that. And there's this one car chase. He's driving a car, and they're shooting at the bad guys. Bad guys are shooting at them, and he's just so sickly, like passes out while he's in the middle of a car chase. And it's just like a very realistic. It's something that could happen, a realistic thing that could happen in a dire situation. Your blood starts pumping and stuff like that. And the Interpol agent like elbows him in the head. It's like, wake up! What the hell? So it had like some interesting moments in it. It's really good action as well. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But there's way too many flashbacks. That's kind of the problem with this film. It's like you're jumping back to a conversation he had with his wife, which is actually referring to a conversation he had with his wife at a different flashback and stuff like that. And it happens over and over again. You get like echoes of these flashbacks as well, auditory, and you're just like, I get it. It's on his mind. His wife and his kid are on his mind. I get it. But otherwise, pretty good action movie. He dies like a bitch. The end is really good. Very good end scene. It's very important to have a good end scene. So 24 Hours to Live, 2017. 10 of 13 stars. I had to think about it. EK is having way too much fun. 10 of 13 stars. On top of it, my man. EK is so excited because of the new studio. He's having so much fun. Plugging stuff in. It's like, I could do this. I could do that. Because, I mean, we can have a lot more capability now. So it's pretty awesome. Let's get into the news worth knowing. All right. So I think this is the biggest news story. This is bigger than Epstein. It's bigger than Jesus. All right. So Brennan directed publication of implausible reports claiming Putin preferred Trump in 2016. House found. So I don't know if you've heard about this. The intelligence community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect Donald Trump back in 2016. Why would he want to? Our enemies love when Democrats are in power. But at an unusual, quote unquote, direction of then President Barack Obama, they published a potentially biased or implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise, the House Intelligence Committee found. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declassified a report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence back in 2020. The report, which is based upon an investigation launched by former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes from California, was dated 18 September 2020. At the time of the publication of the report, Representative Adam Schiff from California was the chairman of the committee. Fox News Digital obtained fully sourced limited action investigation report that was drafted and stored in a limited access vault at CIA headquarters. Includes some redactions. Committee focused on the creation of the Intelligence Community Assessment of 2017, in which then CIA Director John Brennan pushed for the inclusion of the now discredited anti-Trump dossier, despite knowing that that it was based largely on internet rumor, quote unquote, as Fox News Digital had previously reported. Yeah. According to the report, the ICA has a high-profile product ordered by the president, directed by senior IC agency heads, and created by 5 CIA analysts, including one principal drafter. All right. So, in short, you know what this means, right? It means that Barack Obama went to his intelligence community after Trump won the election and said, we got to dig up some dirt on him. We got to undermine the incoming Republican administration because they're going to start messing with my money. All these corrupt Democrats are going to start losing their money once Donald Trump gets in the White House. You know, which is so criminal. So criminal. It's unthinkable. It's like that any other president has ever done any crime like that. To undermine an incoming, using the state, you know, taxpayer-funded intelligence agency to go after a political opponent. And for God's sakes, Pam Bondi, for God's sakes, Kash Patel, why are you not arresting people already? Why is Obama not in handcuffs already? And this is what bugs me about a lot of this. And I think Matt Walsh, it bugs him too, is that you could talk about this all day long. You could say you're going to do stuff. You could say this is also terrible and this is also criminal. Why is nobody handcuffed? Go handcuff somebody. Like I've said many times, it's like, where's justice? I missed that motherfucker. Bring him back. Handcuff these sons of bitches and things that they're doing. Stealing from the American people. Undermining the will of the American people who voted in Donald Trump. Stealing elections. You're like, yeah, we definitely should try socialism in New York. What? That city would collapse, you know? It'd just be an island again. Anyway. Let's skip around to another story. What was that, the duster? Okay. Louisiana pastor says he was fired from his library job for objecting to trans pronoun use. Yeah, libraries are filled with liberals, run by liberals. There's plenty of average people who use libraries, but the people who run a library, liberals. All right, a Louisiana pastor claimed he was fired from his second job at the local library this month for refusing to use a transgender employee's preferred pronouns. Luke Ash, lead pastor at Stevendale Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, was a library technician at the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Whew, that's a mouthful. Until he was fired on July 10th. Parish Library, like a religious parish. Yeah, not PERI, PAR. All right. Library technician. Does that mean like he fixes bookshelves? Is that what that means? Anyway, he recently told Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, on his show Washington Watch. According to Ash, he was in a conversation with a coworker on July 7th about a new staffer that she was training. The new staffer, Ash says, was a biological female who preferred to be called by male pronouns. Quote, I refused to use those preferred pronouns. The next day I was reprimanded by my supervisor and the head of reference, and like the dictionary lady. Is that what you mean? The Thursday morning, like the big giant dictionary lady, I guess. Thursday morning, I was fired, he told Perkins. According to WBRZ, Ash was handed a copy of the library's inclusivity policy, which says it fosters an environment where all employees are welcomed, accepted, and respected, and have the right to be addressed by the chosen name and pronouns. But the Christian employee said he couldn't lie and violate his religious convictions. That's all we need to read of the story, right? As a Christian man, it is my duty to observe and report the truth. That's a chick, all right? You cannot force me to lie. And that's the whole point of this preferred pronoun thing. This is what Jordan Peterson got in trouble for. You know, this is what this whole thing is all about. When you say, I have to call you something that you aren't, you are forcing me to bear false witness. That's a commandment. You're forcing me to break a commandment. Sorry, you're not going to get me to lie. And this is what I like about Gavin McInnes, because he's like, get fired, get in trouble, be brave, and never stop fighting. And this is what he's talking about. They're trying to make us break commandments. It's like, it's like I said many times, the whole trans thing it's just for narcissistic people who have nothing interesting to say. They have, instead of developing a personality or a sense of humor, they'll just say, I'm a different gender. And now it's something you can always talk about. He didn't use my preferred pronouns. Seriously, do you think these people all day long, these are the conversations they're having all day long? Who isn't using my preferred pronouns around here? You know how fucking boring that is? I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be using like PG curse words, but profanity has its purpose. And you're boring. That was the title of last week's show, wasn't it? You are boring. Anyway, let's go to the next story. Hey, moving right along. All right. This is interesting. Excuse me. Quote, culture of shame. New York City Council member sounds alarm over Mamdani's voters falling for a, quote, pipe dream. Exclusive out of Brooklyn, New York. New York City Republican Councilwoman Ina Vernikov revealed the popularity of socialist mayor candidate Zoran Mamdani is driven by his supporters falling for the pipe dream that socialism and communism have to offer. Vernikov, who was born in the Soviet Ukraine, told Fox News Digital that she remembers standing in milk and bread lines with her grandfather, adding that Mamdani's policies are an experiment that has been done before. That's all you got to do is ask some ex-Cubans, ask some ex-Soviets. They'll tell you the truth, okay? So she went on to say, when you look at the Soviet Union, this is exactly what they did. They promised the people everything, and at the end, who got rich? Only the government. And I think that's what's happening here. Yes, that's exactly what's happening here. Why do you think Mamdani got into politics? It's a very fast way to get rich. Look at AOC. She was a bartender. Now she's a millionaire. All right. She pulled herself up by her bootstraps. Yeah, bootstraps. Exactly. Where'd she get all that money? Because all that money's floating around in Washington. They're just she sold the straps from her boots. Okay. My God, this Vernikov lady is gorgeous. Are there any Russian chicks who are ugly? Jeez. Or maybe they're all, like in Russia, they're all ugly because all the hot ones come here to bang Donald Trump or something. Anyway, when asked what is behind Mamdani's surge in popularity that skyrocketed him to the top of the national conversation when he won the Democratic primary for the largest city in the United States, that's a long sentence. And then you just use a comma. Vernikov suggested many of his voters are motivated by guilt. All right, who wrote it? We're doing it. We're doing the editor thing. Andrew Mark Miller. The whole headline? No, you don't have to do the headline. I just wanted to look and see who was writing it. You don't have to do the. I know you're busy plugging stuff up. You are having a blast. You went under the desk earlier, and I was like, you were quiet for a long time, and I was like, did you fall into another dimension? Oh, a lot of space under there. Anyway, yeah, so, yeah, ask a Cuban, ask a Soviet, they'll tell you how stupid communism and socialism is. Anyway, fine, we'll talk about Ozzy now. Heavy metal pioneer Ozzy Osbourne. I did want to talk about it, but I read this article, and there's one line in it, and I said, okay, I'm gonna talk about this article. Ozzy Osbourne's message to fans caps decades-long legacy. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Ozzy Osbourne, who was born John Michael Osbourne on December 3rd, 1948, and later earned the nickname the Prince of Darkness from his shadowy heavy metal persona, died Tuesday, July 22nd, after battling a number of health issues over the years. He was 76. The Black Sabbath frontman was as much known for his incredible mark on music industry as he was his larger-than-life personality, being on stage or in front of a camera while filming a massively successful reality show, The Osbournes. 2 weeks before his death, Ozzy reunited with Black Sabbath to perform at the state's star-studded farewell show in England. And where's he from? He's from Birmingham, isn't he? Appropriately dark and electric send-off for one of rock's greatest legends. Yeah, I'm glad he had that show. So good for him. He went out like a boss.
He was a secret nice guy. He just wanted Black Sabbath to get one more paycheck.
He just wanted to make sure Black Sabbath was making money after he's gone. Get some royalties after I'm gone, mate. It'll be all right. Anyway, during the final show, July 5th at Villa Park, Osbourne expressed gratitude for the overwhelming support as the band, including Tony Iommi, Terrence Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, performed together for the first time in 20 years. The 10-hour show was hosted by Jason Momoa and featured performances from Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Jack Black, Steve Tyler, and others. Jeez, Jack Black is in everything. At one point during the show, he was live streamed in the UK. Legendary drummers including Tool's Danny Carey, Red Hot Chili Peppers' Chad Smith, and Blink-182's Travis Barker battled with their drumsticks while playing a cover of Black Sabbath's Symptom of the Universe. Yeah, that is awesome. For the closing set, the legendary rock star was lifted to the stage while sitting on a black throne accompanied by skulls and topped with a black hat. He sang hits like Crazy Train and Mama, I'm Coming Home while remained seated for the entire set. You have no idea how I feel, Osbourne told the crowd. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Born in Aston, West Midlands. I'm sorry, I thought it was like Birmingham. UK, Ozzy was drawn to the theater as a child, but he ultimately turned to music after listening to one particular song from the Beatles. Don't forget, he's a boomer. He was a boomer. All right? Listen to this quote. This is where I stopped reading the article because I thought it was so funny. Quote, when I heard She Loves You, the world went up like a shooting star. Osbourne once told Esquire. It was a divine experience. The planets changed. I used to fantasize that Paul McCartney would marry my sister. That's what Ozzy Osbourne said. The Prince of Darkness. He loved She Loves You, yeah, yeah, yeah. He loved that song. He wanted Paul McCartney to marry his sister so he can hang out with Paul McCartney. Don't forget, he was a boomer. He liked what really made Black Sabbath, I should say, is he was, like I said, he was attracted to the theater, and I think they first started, Black Sabbath first started practicing above a theater, and Ozzy got, I love horror movies and I love music and rock and roll. Why don't we combine the two? Horror rock. And so they did. They made horror rock, and some people liked it. I think of two songs that I really like, and that's Iron Man and what's the other one? War Pigs. You have a favorite Ozzy song?
Yeah, I really like
War Pigs is a really good tune. And I know I talked trash earlier, but I don't want to trivialize what he contributed to rock and roll and so forth. And we all like some Sabbath. We all love to listen to War Pigs, and we're all probably going to listen to War Pigs later today. But like I said, nobody's like, Norm Macdonald died. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, or burn in hell, I suppose. I don't know.
Wherever you want to be, we hope you make it there.
I guess if you want to go to hell. I was thinking, what if you met Ozzy Osbourne in heaven? I couldn't believe they let me in here. Jesus was like, I can't believe you. Jesus said to me, I can't believe you bit the head off a bat. Even I wouldn't do that. Anyway, let's do two funnier, happier stories, I guess. Then we'll get out of here. Happier, I don't know. Apparently you gotta tip the restaurant now. So restaurant surcharge stirs up controversy. Quote, business owners should be embarrassed. So an extra fee was added to a check at a restaurant, left one diner shocked and fired up people on the internet too. Wouldn't everybody who went to the restaurant that day? Anyway, so a Georgia man shared a photo of his receipt on Instagram Threads, asking, WTF is a living wage fee following dinner in mid-June. On the bill was a $13 Reuben sandwich, jeez, $12 burger, 2 sides of fries for $4 each, and an 18% living wage fee that was tacked on an additional $5.94, bringing his total with $1.81 in tax to $40.75, excuse me, for 2 meals. Below the total was a disclaimer from the unnamed restaurant saying living wage fee of 18% added to each dine-in check. This fee goes directly to staff payroll and provides a living wage to our team.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, why don't you do that? EK says. The notice also said that any tips given would be pooled and distributed among the entire team. The post received over 500 comments and was shared across the internet, including on Reddit. People debated the levy and brought up a similarly controversial policy, such as kitchen appreciation fee and health and safety surcharges during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, we remember that stuff. Fox News Digital reached out for the original poster for comment. Quote, the business owner should be embarrassed that they even have that on the bill, one person on Reddit said. If they can't pay for the staff, don't do business. Your business skills are clearly not good to be able to pay the workers sufficiently. EK's over here thinking about his business all day long, running cables and so forth. And he's like, yeah. And so, I think I talked, was it last week I talked about tipping? Yeah. And so, it's like I said, it's become automatic. We're just going to go ahead and put it on your bill. Hopefully you won't notice. You'll notice like your electric and power companies may do this too. You'll get a charge, like your water, and you're like, no, I wasn't, like, I was in, for 2 weeks, I was in Nag's Head. Why is my water bill the same as it was last month? I spent 2 weeks in Nag's Head. Why is this the same as last month? And you can call the water company. It's like, oh, whoopsie. We don't really track it. We just pick a number and send it to you, and hopefully you'll pay it. And that's what I mean. It's become so automatic. It's almost like the firm where he catches them on that, like sending the mail. It's like, it's evil. It's criminal. You can't pay your employees. Why not just raise your prices? That way you don't have to tell them why you're doing it. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah. Be a relevant business, be a good business. It's like these people saying, like these illegal immigrants, they're like saying, it's like, well, they work the jobs regular Americans don't want to. It's like, yeah, because we want to be paid at least minimum wage. You like hiring the illegals because you could pay them less than that because they're illegal. All right. Don't pretend like this, like Americans don't want to bend over picking strawberries. You can definitely find Americans to do that. It's just they want you to pay them for it. Like a minimum wage at the very least. And the reason why you're so excited about these illegals is because of how little you pay them. It's not fair to them, and they shouldn't even be here anyway. Did you hear about that raid at the pot farm where they had a bunch of kids working at the pot farm? Anyway, yeah, I read news all day long, write stuff all evening long. It's amazing how much information passes through my brain. All right, last story, and then we're out of here. A little early. Foul play. Really? Look. Jasmine Bear. Puns aren't funny. And if you guys are sitting around Fox News and you're like, I got this story about this woman who maced a guy because he hit a chicken. What pun should I use for this story's headline? And if there's a bunch of writers sitting around trying to think of puns for this, and they come up with foul play, they should all be fired. No offense, Jasmine. Because puns aren't funny. Anyway, that wasn't my fun. Florida woman charged after allegedly spraying mace at a driver who struck chicken crossing the road. But why was the chicken crossing the road? So a Florida woman is facing charges after ruffling more than a few feathers. Jasmine, what did I just say? For allegedly spraying bear mace at a driver and her passenger in a bizarre road rage incident involving a chicken crossing the road. But are we going to get to the bottom of why the chicken crossed the road? According to the police, 38-year-old Cynthia Velasca Diaz Sosa, playing third base, was arrested July 9th in Key West after a confrontation with another driver, Perla DeMiller. Sosa had reportedly stopped her car in the roadway to let a chicken pass. See, shouldn't do that. But DeMiller, who was behind the wheel of his vehicle behind Sosa, honked, swerved around her, and ran over the bird, according to Key West police. Screw that chicken. That's when things turned foul. Jasmine! Oh, I guess you can't. You're not writing it as, okay. You wrote this before. I'm sorry. Sorry for berating you. Cynthia wanted, it's just, I'm just now reading it. Anyway. Cynthia wanted to, quote, teach her a lesson, according to the arrest affidavit taped off by Fox News Digital. You don't treat chickens like that in this town, pal. Investigators say Sosa allegedly followed DeMiller's vehicle, forced it to stop, yanked on the driver's door, and sprayed bear mace into the cabin, striking DeMiller in the face. My God. Key West police charged Sosa with 2 counts of aggravated battery, second-degree felony, and 1 count of burglary with assault or battery, first-degree felony, and she was taken into custody the same day and released on a $35,000 surety bond on July 10th, court records show. Police later identified and stopped Sosa's black Toyota Corolla, placed her in custody at the scene. She was searched in front of a patrol vehicle before being transported, according to the arrest affidavit. Sosa was later brought to the Key West police station lobby, where she gave a voluntary statement to the officers. Court records obtained by Fox News Digital indicate Sosa filed a written plea of not guilty, really, through her attorney, Dustin Hunter. Hunter did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. DeMiller, who was en route to pick up her child from daycare, wow, we got a lot of information, was reportedly blinded and disoriented by the spray. A passenger of the car was also affected by the mace, of course. And all of those involved in the incident now protected under no contact orders issued by the judge. Do you think she's going to stalk you over the chicken? As the woman struggled over the car door, Sosa unleashed bear mace into the vehicle, hitting DeMiller directly in the face, the report states. Sosa later drove herself to a police station and allegedly told authorities she was angry that DeMiller had killed the chicken. Documents also said that Sosa afterwards just got back into her car and drove off. She was later located and detained. Is there an echo in here? The affidavit states after her vehicle was identified and spotted by officers. She remains free. Sosa remains free under surety bond, and court-imposed restrictions, like she can't stalk them. I know where you live, chicken killer. So I didn't see anything in the article about
Stops with me.
the balk stops with me. See, EK's better at puns than you, and you write for Fox News. And puns aren't funny. Everyone, puns aren't funny. Say it with me. Puns are not funny. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron again. And maybe in 10 years, I'll have enough patrons so I can go to my 40th high school reunion. Boy, I hope I make it there. I also have money. You can send me money on Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can send me money that way. You can follow me on social media. On X, you can follow me on @Denalitsaw, DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards. On Twitter, and @SLRobbins13 on the Instagram. I also have a Facebook, Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook if you want to check that out. I don't update it very often because Facebook pisses me off. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.